Hello, everyone. We're thrilled to welcome Mati Greenspan here, the CEO of Quantum Economics, to our discussion today. Mati, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good, Adia. Thanks for having me.
Nice. So my first question is, what are the benefits of Web3 technology compared to traditional web technology?
Oh yeah, well, there's a lot of benefits, but if you have to point to one, I would say that it's a more open, free, and fair system. I think that's the one thing that separates blockchain and decentralized markets from traditional finance, where for thousands of years, there's been kind of autonomy on the way things have run, things have been behind closed doors, and those tend to benefit the few. And this is a much more democratic way to run things and more beneficial for all, more transparent overall. You can get to a place where the world is simply freer and fairer. I think that's just what we're after here.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Can you explain some of the most common tools and platforms used in Web3 development?
There's a lot of different tools. I mean, this is part of the benefits of decentralized markets. A lot of different wallets that you can use and stuff like that. I think that just as an ethos, I think that a lot of crypto people tend to use the Brave browser, which is a lot like Google Chrome, and it just simply doesn't track your every move. And I think that on my browser, I probably have about 7 or 8 widgets for different kind of blockchains and stuff like that. I think the prevailing one right now is MetaMask, which you can use it with many different websites and many different blockchains and connect it. But there are a lot of tools, some of which I'm happy to be helping and build them, and so we could really speak about that until tomorrow.
Okay, good. And what are the most important skills for a Web3 developer to have?
Well, I'm not really a developer, so I wouldn't really, I wouldn't really know if you're talking about coding and stuff like that. I think that everybody has different skills, and everybody's skills are useful. So, for example, right, we're involved right now. We've just acquired the Revolt network, which is a DeFi aggregator, and the old team is completely gone. We've transitioned, and my team is now leading the project. But if it weren't for like the power of the community, I would literally see like no future in it. It's really is that everybody from the community has their own set of skills, their own way of thinking, their own advantages, and they're the ones pushing it forward. So I feel like I'm just kind of helping facilitate that more than anything else. So really the power of the community is that when you have a diverse group of people from all over the world and everybody's working towards a common goal, it can be very fulfilling and very lucrative as well.
Okay, I like this answer. And what advice do you have for companies who is looking for to adopt Web3 technology?
You mean like, it depends what kind of companies, because I mean, as an advisor, I give a lot of advice, but I don't think that I can really give blanket advice for all companies. If we want to kind of segregate them, right? So, for example, companies that are based in Web 2 and have a strong base in Web 2, I don't think have a future in Web 3. I don't feel like Facebook or Twitter or something like that could ever become a Web3 platform. I think Reddit's doing an okay job, but even they not really there, right? I think that a company, in order to be Web3, has to be founded as a Web3 with blockchain, NFTs and DeFi and tokens in mind. Otherwise, they don't really stand a fighting chance, right? Like Twitter couldn't launch a token, right? The shareholders would say, "Wait a second, like, what do we own over here? We're the ones who funded this thing, and now you're going to like look for outside funds, and then what would that token even do? It doesn't even make any sense." For companies that are looking to build in the Web3 space, I would say that it's a good time for that right now. because a lot of the froth and the excess have been kind of shaken out of the market. And those who raised money during in 2021, certainly were very fortunate, but most of them, I think, a lot of them have crashed already, right? So if you're looking for something that's more long-term and more sustainable, those type of things are better built during these type of times in the bear market.
And what are the key challenges you face when working on Web3 projects?
Oh boy. Yeah, there are a lot, honestly. I think that regulatory issues can be very difficult to surmount sometimes. I have a portfolio manager's license from SciSec, but regulations are different everywhere you go, right? Most regulators, they're very local, and then sometimes they expand out to be more they expand their jurisdiction over time, and even the United States feels like the global regulator sometimes, even though they're not. But with cryptocurrencies, for the first time, we have an asset class which is global in nature. When there's no geolocation on the blockchain, then when you create a cryptocurrency, de facto, it's a global currency. Anybody can interact with it simply by interacting with the code that's created it. However, for those like myself who are trying to be compliant, and make sure that we're always following the rules and stuff like that, and still be building on a technology with infinite potential for good, it can be a challenge.
Okay, I have one tricky question. Can you give any examples of successful Web3 projects and explain what made them successful?
Geez, put me on the spot. I think that of the companies that I'm advising, I think that the most successful and that I've watched their success, from day one, is Lunar Crush. And I don't know if you've heard of them before. I started advising them early 2020, and they were very small back then, just a kind of an analytics platform. And you can go to lunarcrush.com and you can see basically the stats, any cryptocurrency out there, where you could just see like how many mentions does it have on social media, who are the biggest accounts that are talking about them, if sentiment is positive or negative overall. So they're basically listening to Twitter and Reddit and Medium and mainstream media to gauge overall sentiment, but also like the size of a community. Because when you think about tokens, right, they can really be anything. They don't have like traditional valuation models like we do with stock markets, right? But we know, like, in a stock market, if you're thinking about buying a stock, more or less what to look for as far as the valuation metrics. But in cryptocurrencies, we're really rewriting these rules, and this is something that I've been somewhat involved with since 2015, right? And trying to understand, like, how do we write these type of rules? And at the time, I thought, we could have this done in a year or two, but now I'm looking at it going, no, wait a second, this is a lot more complicated. But if we boil it down to what is a cryptocurrency, at the end of the day, what gives it its value is the network, and the size of the network, and the strength of the community. So Lunar Crush allows people to like really put that on a graph and see over time, is it growing, is it not growing? They were able to see like Pepe coin just exploding, and even now they're telling me, look, this is unprecedented, right? We don't see like a meme coin with no utility, like literally outperforming Ethereum on a consistent basis. It was never happened before. So here we can see this type of data. I've seen them through and helped them launch their own token for monetization of the platform, and the API calls that they're providing institutional investors. And now they have a new project called Nakamoto One, which is literally sending Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few other coins to the moon. So, I mean, like to the actual moon, like they're putting some private keys on a lunar rover and sending it to the south pole of the moon as like a treasure hunt. And of course, like anybody, because the public keys are public, like anybody can send any NFT they want to or whatever to like directly to the moon, and we'll be able to see like everything that's in that wallet. And then whoever finds those keys is basically the owner of it, and they can keep it.
That's crazy and interesting. Okay. And have you ever worked on a Web3 project that failed, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of failures this last year. And that's part of the hazard of working with early stage startups. I knew that when I first, started advisory business, right? And I was quoted as saying, I think even in the ICO bubble of 2017, I was out there telling people, look, 95% of these projects are going to fail because 95% of startups fail. So this should be understood. But what I can say for myself anyways, and the people that I've chosen to work with, is that death isn't the end. Tokens don't really ever go to zero, because there's always somebody that the token doesn't disappear, right? Once it's on the blockchain, it can't really get rid of it. So it still exists in some form. And there's always going to be somebody who's willing to buy it at some price point, even if it's just like as a collectible, right? Like some coin that, I don't know who knew about it, but now you can buy half of the total supply for $500. And like, yeah, you know what? Hold on, why not? Like just as like something that they have in their wallet, right? So there's always going to be, I mean, the market is literally 8 billion people. I mean, not literally, but figuratively, it's 8 billion people who have access to purchase, and there's going to be somebody out there who's going to. I think that Revolt, which I mentioned, is a great example because they went through like the original founders. They were fighting with each other, and they put $1 million into the development of the platform, and they didn't really think about like profitability of themselves and their company. They just thought, oh, the token's going to go to the moon, so we're going to be okay. And they didn't they didn't build anything into the tokenomics of like, how do we make this a profitable entity, which is the core part of the work that we're doing there now. Another amazing example is Supremacy Game. With Supremacy Game, they put about $4 million into the development of an NFT game, basically a robot fighting game. It's live, and it's an awesome game. It's fun to play, and it's an awesome team. But they had a few VCs that maybe turned on them, or like didn't deliver on the promises to put up the capital that they had committed to putting up. Actually, 2 different VCs basically messed them over in really dirty ways. But this was also, I think it's just poor timing, because they launched February 2nd, 2022. So it's 2/22/22. That was exactly the wrong time to be launching anything in the crypto market. So this is, I think, an issue of timing. But at a certain point, it's okay. Well, the cash doesn't come in, and they have so many developers. They put about $4 million into development. They basically declared like a tactical bankruptcy. And what that means is that the game is still up. It's running at a very minimal overhead, right? But it can always come back to life, right? And it can always like spring back into action the moment that the market turns around, the moment that somebody comes and picks it up and moves it forward, it'll go. And the community is still there. The community is still engaged. And this is the point that when I get involved in a project, like I don't leave. Like I'm not, even if it's closing, okay, it'll close. I have literally like diamond hands. I'm not selling my tokens for anything. I want to make sure that the projects that I'm involved with are gonna grow long term.
Okay, that's great. And Mati, I have the last question for you. What excites you most about the future of Web3 technology?
I think that this is like, I see this as the next layer of the internet. I mean, the internet has done so much good for so many people. It's literally opened up a portal of knowledge to everybody on the planet. And before the internet, people were susceptible to tyranny through kind of misinformation, right? And tyranny through just like local governments that, feed them a pack of lies, and they don't really know what else to think because they don't have access to the rest of the world, right? And the internet has basically opened it up so that nobody can come in and claim those type of things, because anybody can come and check, on the validity or the authenticity in a rather quick way. And I believe that with blockchain technology, that's the next level of this, and is going to open up a world of wealth for everybody on the planet, where the wealth gap between the rich and the poor has been getting steadily wider and wider over the last few hundred years. Don't get me wrong, I mean, the poor people have it much better now than they did 300 years ago, right? Just access to resources and stuff like that. So as it goes, it's not the rich get rich and the poor get poorer, but rather the rich get rich a lot faster than the poor get richer. And in this sense, I believe very strongly that now that we have this technology in our hands, that everybody will be able to come to a more equitable spot, because where we're going at the end of the day, right, where AI can come in and take over, and robotics can basically handle all of the natural resources that we need, and sustenance and shelter and all of those type of things can be, you can easily see a place where all of that is automated, right? But the question will be like, who has the resources, right? Do we live in a dystopia where a few people are controlling all of those AIs and all of the resources, and everybody else is like scrounging for the scraps? Or do we live in a place where everybody has a kind of equitable portion and everybody's able to access the resources and everything that they need or that they want? And I believe that Web3, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, call it what you will, I believe that is our path to a more equitable future.
All right. Thank you, Mati, so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, and have a nice day, and take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.